Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you are in. And thank you for joining. I see all of you logging in from Sri Lanka to Bangalore to Croatia to Brazil. So thank you. So this HAC informational webinar was put together by Holly and me because of some of the changes that the HAC Projects Committee has made to the call for proposals. Last year, we put in a lot of extra requirements and checks to make sure projects are, of course, thinking about the whole gamut of issues that can show up when you're doing these kind of humanitarian projects, and also for teams to insulate themselves from potential, problems that they may face as they go on doing humanitarian work. So, welcome everyone, and I'll go to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide, Holly? So we will talk about the overview of key aspects of what our call for proposals is doing, and then have a Q&A, of course. So hopefully we have 30 minutes of the overview and then 30 minutes of Q&A. Holly will even talk about a case study on Bolivia, right, Holly? So that participants can get even more information.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So really what we are trying to do is we are trying to execute the charge given by the board. So I don't know how many of you know that Humanitarian Activities Committee directly reports to the IEEE board. We don't report to any other entity within IEEE. But what we are really trying to do is have more IEEE members realize the benefits of humanitarian work and how the engineering profession can help enable that. So one is to scale up the site projects that we have, which is the special interest groups on humanitarian technology. The site committee reports to the site chair, who's part of the HAC committee. I won't call it a subcommittee of ours, but in a sense, it is a committee of a member within HAC. So we do encourage scale up of those projects, which are lower dollar amount projects, less than $20,000. And then we also are looking at providing our technical expertise for all humanitarian work around the world. So if there is a specific project but the technical expertise is elsewhere, providing that kind of worldwide technical expertise that only IEEE can provide. And of course, collaboration between the different IEEE operating units. Next slide, please, Holly. Um, so we are going to prioritize well-developed, impactful proposals, of course. But the change that you will start seeing is that we want the HEC proposals now to have a strong connection with the local IEEE OU. Now, what's an OU? It's an operating unit. Generally, it means the section. But let's say there is something within the section that's preventing you from doing it, then we'll be open to other possibilities. It could mean that you're attaching yourself to the region or the area through your area chair, or you are attaching yourself to a chapter. I mean, till now we've kept it a little more flexible, but I would say that attaching yourself to the section would be best because that helps you engage more members of your section, especially when you'll be tackling local problems. And we request you to engage a significant number of IEEE members. So in the past, what HAC has done is we have okayed projects that involved maybe one IEEE member and the rest were non-IEEE members. But the significant change that we are making going forward is we request really a significant number of IEEE members. Now, why did we not put a number on the significant number? Because some projects may be really small and could be executed by one or two people, and some could be really large and would need, say, 20 people. We request that smaller projects, try and engage as many people as as they can. But if that doesn't make sense, that's fine. But larger projects, we do expect people to start showing how they can engage members within IEEE. This is also being done because our final goal is to show the benefits to our IEEE members and not just provide benefits to those who are not seeing the benefit in IEEE membership. So that's why this change. Next slide, Holly. So our committee budget for the every project proposal that you submit is within $20,000 to $60,000. Below $20,000, you should be going to the site committee. They have a call for proposals. What would you take to site versus what would you bring to HAC? Um, if you're really piloting a new technology, if something is not your expertise and you want to do it, then it's better you apply for the site committee project funding so that you can do the pilot with less risk and less money involvement from IEEE. Um, so that's why we are encouraging you to do a smaller dollar value project and then go through site. And really, what that also enables is when you come with proposals that are more than $40,000 budget, we are now going to start looking at, did this project have any previous success? In the past, what we've done is we have given money to projects that have not shown previous success. But going forward, we are changing such that if it's more than $40,000, then we need you to have shown previous success. Now, we are not restricting the previous success to mean IEEE side projects, but that would be one way of doing it. You do a less than $20,000 side project, and then you can come and apply for higher dollar value item HAC projects. So next slide, please, Holly. So one of the things, the slide is all the attributes of the project, but the main gist is it has to be feet on the ground and local IEEE involvement. You cannot be in my section as Oakland East Bay. Me, Niru, Pama cannot be sitting in Oakland East Bay and trying to do a project in Bolivia. That's not how it works. We expect Bolivian section members to be doing Bolivia projects. If you're interested in helping a project, of course, you can help them remotely, but then there has to be involvement of the local Bolivian section members as well. So in the past, HAC has had precedents that we've gone and funded projects where the local section members were not even aware. It's happened even in my section that we were not aware, and there was a project being done by somebody in our section area. And we want to stop that. If there are people who are trying to do projects in India, say, they have to engage the local section members. Also, before even our IEEE, we have to see if the community that we are working with wants this project. So there has to be significant community engagement, understanding of the community, engagement of the community, the agreement of the community. Not something that you can, we're not going to encourage proposals where the community has not been engaged, it hasn't been consulted, and things like that. And of course, one of the bigger changes that HAC made in 2019, in fact, I would say the big change was impact measurement with projects. We did have lots of workshop showing how you could do impact measurement using one of the techniques called social return on investment. But within the projects, we are not going to restrict whether it has to be social return on investment or not. You can use any method to show how you measure impact, and not just measurement of outputs of the project, but outcomes. And in case you don't know the difference between outputs and outcomes, do contact us and we'll try and get a workshop organized for you, or at the minimum have a little educational thing for you. Holly, here quickly, do we have any kind of educational material on SROI ready that people could get?
We have some handouts, but in terms of impact assessment, we do have some modules that will be available on the IEEE Learning Network,
Okay.
I believe shortly. So yes, we'll have more information on that.
That is awesome. Thank you. So, and of course, all projects have to have a technology component. It cannot be some kind of a project where, hey, we are going to do this work in this orphanage and it's going to be a bunch of, volunteers showing up with toys. And while that's a very beautiful thing to do, and we encourage you to do that if that's, in your personal time, as an IEEE project, it has to involve a technology component. Next slide, please. Holly, there's some comment from somebody saying, two people saying there are network issues and they don't listen.
Right. There is sound. I'll answer in the comments here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what we will not consider. This is one of the more important things. We will not consider any project that has not shown us that they haven't engaged the community, that the community has not been consulted, that this was just a bunch of, you know, IEEE members just thinking about a problem and coming up with a solution without even asking the people who were in the community. Um, if it's primarily of research nature, like you want to make a better, robotic arm, we don't fund it. We request you to go do that research with other kinds of funding, um, any kind of funding that you can apply for in your countries, but then come back to at least HAC with, hey, now that I have this technology, how am I going to enable that as a social enterprise? We also don't encourage projects that are then going to commercialize technology. So let's say you come back with a robotic arm, but you want to start selling it in retail stores. That's not what we're expecting. We are expecting to see how you can help use this to, let's say, help disabled people somewhere. And then, maybe a component to charging someone for O&M or something, but we are working out through the details of how that'll work if you're going to start, collecting money. So basically, we're not encouraging it yet, but if we come out with details, then we'll put out a notice that we will we'll be open to looking at projects that have that kind of a component. Um, Also, if you just say you're going to develop something and you have no, deployment plan, that's also not going to be encouraged. Anything that also talks about immediate disaster relief, as important as that is and as beautiful a thought as that is, unfortunately, HAC is not geared to react that quickly. We are trying to see if we can do something about it through other committees, but HAC Projects Committee, at least, is not geared to react that quickly. We do go by deadlines for our proposals, etc., etc. Also, projects in which travel budget is more than 25%, we don't encourage that. So next slide, please, Holly. So call for proposals. This time we didn't have a January call for proposals. And we're having this webinar because we want to encourage higher quality projects and of course for you to take care of everything. So the first deadline is 2nd of March, as you see. The second deadline is 1st of June. And if funds are left over, there may be a call on the 7th of September. I'll also be talking to the committee. The committee this year is about 15 members, with the call number 3 may be a close call for those of you who have shown previous success. But for now, it's not, we are not even sure if we'll have a call 3. So I encourage you to apply quickly. At the same time, if you think you're not ready, it's okay to wait and apply in the second deadline. Next slide, Holly. So look at the travel guidelines in the IEEE travel and express reimbursement section. That's the kind of travel that we will reimburse. That's direct project costs. We will not reimburse any volunteer salaries. So there have been proposals that have come in asking for, somebody's time to get reimbursed. That unfortunately we cannot do. Everybody's expected to be a volunteer. Um, and then we won't exactly look at indirect costs as well. It has to be direct project costs. And you have to justify. Let's say you do employ somebody locally. We are okay with that if they have to manage the project, administrate the project. It has to be somebody local, not an IEEE volunteer. Let's say it's somebody who's an electrician and you have to pay the electrician. That is that may be considered, but again, you have to justify it very, very clearly. Also, with your IEEE OU, like I said, we encourage it to be your section. With your IEEE OU, I request you to discuss all kinds of, bank fees, any other kind of fees that you may incur, because we in the past we've had issues where somebody has requested some kind of money and then they find out that there are bank fees involved in transfer to their country, and then they are coming back to HAC and asking for more money to complete the project, and we don't have that kind of money to just give away. We are also limited by our budgets. So please discuss with your section, hey, if I'm going to get money from New Jersey to, let's say, our section in our country, are there any bank fees involved? Are there any limitations? Are there any, sanctions that we have to be careful of? All that fun stuff. I also encourage you to think about the same thing when you partner with an NGO, whether the NGO is under any sanction list, especially because IEEE is USA based. Make sure that the NGO doesn't have any issues when it comes to US laws, you're not partnering with an NGO that has any sanction issues, all that, just make sure. Um, Also, if you want to go to a conference, you want to conduct an HAC event, please apply to the HAC Events Committee. They have their own budget, they have their own rules. Projects Committee strictly looks at only project proposals. We don't look at event proposals and workshop proposals, etc. Next slide, please, Ollie. Yeah, I'll quickly go through the application structure. I'm not going to spend much time. Next slide. So, we'll ask for the nature of the project. Also, we are going to ask about what kind of UN Sustainable Development Goals apply to this project. Please don't check all the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Um, you don't get an advantage if you show that you're hitting more UN Sustainable Development Goals. In fact, sometimes when we see those proposals, we're wondering if the author understands what UN Sustainable Development Goals are because they've checked everything. So please check those that apply and justify why you're thinking that. A successful project, in my mind, has always been that where the team knows what kind of UN Sustainable Development Goals they are affecting. And those people are very clear. And when they write with that clarity, then even the proposal reviewer knows that they're reviewing a high quality proposal. Next slide, please, Holly. And then, you can you can of course check any technology types. If there are other technology types we are missing and that's frequent, you can always come back to us. um, Again, we ask for the project history just to know if it has come through site, what have you done, if this was a previous project that you did with an NGO with some local funding. It's good you elaborate that and justify to us because that will give an edge in us saying, okay, these people have done this project and it's proven. Next slide, Holly. This is where the impact measurement starts coming into picture. The first step is, of course, stakeholder mapping. Who are your stakeholders? Um, in my experience with HAC, a successful project is one where they have really mapped all the stakeholders very beautifully and understood everybody's role. It's not just saying, oh, yeah, the stakeholders are the IEEE section, the IEEE members engaged in the project, and the community. There are other people who may be getting touched by the project. Let's say it's a local government agency that's going to get involved. So mapping all the stakeholders, what their engagement is, what their role is, all that is very, very important. Next, Holly. And then theory of change. Here is where, the whole, Holly, you'll be going through the Bolivia section. Do you want to do that at this time? What they've done?
Sure. Yep.
Sure.
Yep. So hang on. I'm just gonna. Let me see. There we go. Okay, I want to walk you through. By the way, Neer mentioned the stakeholder mapping. This here, what you should see on the screen is the template that we have for the stakeholder mapping. So let me just show you. So we were talking about these are the questions you're going to be asked about theory of change: inputs, activities, outputs, outcome, impact, etc. So a good example here is on the HAC website. There's a case study about a project in Bolivia that we funded last year. This is called CamachoNet. And if you scroll down, you'll see here's an overview of the project. So you can take a look at this on your own time and get a better sense of this project. But down below, you can see in sort of an overview fashion, the stakeholders, inputs, activities, etc. So now this is, for the actual application, we're going to need more information than this. We did not put everything on this website because this website is just an overview of this project. But this gives you an idea here. You can see how this group mapped out the stakeholders with different municipalities, residents of local communities, health workers, local entrepreneurs, etc. Now, when we're talking about inputs, generally we're talking about money, time, and expertise. So it's sort of time, talent, and treasure usually is what you have under inputs. So, here in this case, it's funding from HAC, in-kind resources, the time of the volunteers, benchmarking and project expertise of the partner NGO. So the activities then are what is done with the inputs. So in this particular project, the activities included socializing the project with the communities, constructing and installing towers and related infrastructure, installing and configuring telecommunications equipment, installing solar panels, etc. So those are those activities that the project team is performing. So then we come down to the outputs. So the output is what comes out exactly from these activities. So it almost always is quantitative. So you can say the number of towers, the number of solar panels, the number of radios and antennas, the number of batteries, the number of data centers, the number of people trained, the number of people who went to some sort of sensitization event, what have you. Now the outcomes are what happens as a result of the outputs. So in this case, the anticipated outcomes of this project are your steady increase of communications between health centers for health-related operational and administrative tasks. At the short, medium, and long term, there should be a steady improvement of quality health care because the utilization of new telecommunications infrastructure. At the medium and long term, mortality rates and related measures should be bettered by the introduction of technology and the appropriate training of health personnel in technical issues. So those are some examples. Now, again, this is not the kind of detail that we want to see when you're pitching the project, the HAC project, because we want to hear about what exactly the indicators are, how will these be measured, but at least this gives you a sense of what we're talking about with inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes. And then just to distinguish outcomes and impact, the impact really are those long-term outcomes. So back to you, Nero.
Thank you, Holly. That was really well done. I just want to say that Bolivia, this project has been done by Martin, who's a social scientist as well. So of course that gives him an amazing advantage to having to do this, but then you can see the kind of competition and the level at which people are pitching and proposing. And that's where, it's not to discourage, it's to encourage IEEE members to go to the next level, because you're also competing against 500,000 members, and some of them are just superbly brilliant, like Martin from Bolivia, in doing this kind of thing. So, doubly with social science background, and you'll get there, as some of us have also learned over the years working on this. So the next slide, please, Holly. So of course, this is very straightforward. This is all about the implementation. One thing I request, which has caused us to take back money even after given, is risk management and risk assessment. Oftentimes, countries have gone through political turmoil, countries have gone through economic turmoil, and somehow we haven't had participants tell that or even note that in the proposal. Sometimes they may not know. But I request you to note that and bring to our attention all the risks that may be involved, because you may end up getting the proposal through and the project money, but then if significant risks are later determined to protect IEEE's brand, IEEE HAC may take back that money. So it's better to be aware rather than, put IEEE brand at risk. Next slide, Holly. Um, and then, uh, of course, we're asking any approvals that are needed. Very straightforward. Do you need to go to any local authority? Ask them. And how are you going to disseminate the achievements? Because let's say Martin from Bolivia has done this project, but then somebody may say, how come I didn't know about it? So we do expect project proposals to have a very clear plan of how they're going to, distribute the knowledge that they've gained. It could be publishing papers in IEEE conferences. It could be publishing report in any kind of, social enterprise or NGO journal. But any kind of dissemination, we do encourage a lot of IEEE papers, especially in some of the humanitarian conferences we have. So that's what we are asking for here. Next slide, Holly.
Nir, do we want to just talk about the roles and responsibilities of the section?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you for reminding me.
There we go.
Yeah. So, Holly, I'll let you just go over it in more detail. But quickly, one of the things that has to be very clear is when you're engaging with a section, especially if there's any section chair here, we will be asking the section lead to sign off on this roles and responsibilities. The section is just acting as a physical intermediary. They are not your leads. We've had issues in the past where a project team got the money and the section kept the money and started dictating to the project team what has to be done. So, this is our way of making sure that that's prevented. So, as a project lead, if you're a project lead, please be very clear that you get to make all the decisions for your project. If that is not happening, contact HAC, Holly, me, chair immediately. Do not wait. Contact us immediately because HAC's rules are this roles and responsibilities, and we will try and fix the situation. If you're a section chair, be very clear that the project lead is getting this money because he or she put this proposal together. And if there is any kind of issues seen where the section is keeping the money or not letting the project team function independently, then that'll be something that HEC will take up with the appropriate authorities. Holly, anything else you want to elaborate on this?
Just a few things I'll elaborate at the very end.
Okay. Okay. So we can go back or can come back. But like I said, as a project lead, be very clear that you are leading the project, and if there is any violation to that but by anybody, you have to contact HAC through the right channels, which is Holly or the chair at that moment. For this year it'll be me, and chair for HAC committee itself is Karthik. Thank you. And next slide. And then of course we require you to collaborate with an external NGO. So please list the external NGO. Please be very clear about their roles and responsibilities. If an MOU can be signed between your local section and the NGO, please get it done. In fact, I highly, highly encourage it. We will be doing a proper NGO vetting. We have members who are consultants with the World Bank in different parts of the world. They are and other NGO board people who are in our committee. They are highly trained in vetting NGOs. We'll be looking at their financials of the NGO. We'll be looking at who's on the board of the NGO. We'll be looking at, like I said, whether the NGO has any kind of sanctions, especially from the US government to interact with the NGO. Because we are US based, we will not be providing money that will potentially be used for work with such an NGO. So please be very, very careful when you're interacting with NGOs. Of course, we encourage it, but you have to be very clear on what their roles and responsibilities are, what kind of money transactions will happen, et cetera, et cetera. We've had people in the past literally do transactions over WhatsApp and then come and tell us, and that would not be something we'll encourage going future. We've also had a case where a very people just put an NGO's name because one of their members was from the NGO, but the NGO had no financials whatsoever, and we had to just go back and forth. So if you're just don't put NGO names if one member is in an NGO, if that NGO is not going to receive money or have any role and responsibility, especially if they're not going to receive money. Money is where the issues start. Um, the next slide, Holly. And then budget, of course, this is justification, pretty straightforward, but we'll come to that in the Q&A. Next slide, Holly. And one of the things is we are putting together, the other big change is the business conduct conflict of interest. Um, Please be sure that there are no conflicts of interest. If one of your members is on the board of the NGO, I mean, if they are a volunteer, we can consider that. But if they're getting paid by the NGO, this has happened last year that somebody was getting paid by the NGO. They were actually a worker of the NGO and also an IEEE member, but they didn't get disclosed to us until later. So please disclose any conflict of interest. Um, Also, one thing, please submit videos. What really puts a project over another is videos and photos. And I don't mean photos of volunteers. I often see photos. Even the Bolivia section was a bad example as far as photos are concerned. I don't. A photo with an IEEE flag and volunteers in front is very sweet, but doesn't give us any picture of the community. And in this day and age where every smartphone has a camera, if you are in a country where it's easy to upload videos using your smartphone, please do that, because then HAC members get an idea. Don't upload 2 minutes. I mean, you don't have to do long videos. It has to be crisp so we can see it. But I highly encourage videos so that you can humanize your project. So please upload as many videos and photos as you can. And any supplementary material, let's say your NGO has won awards from the World Bank, I'm just making this up. Give us that kind of information. Then we'll know that you're working with somebody very credible and somebody who's, somebody who already has a name in this field. Next slide, Holly. And of course, how to submit. This is pretty straightforward. And if there's any confusion, please contact us. Next slide. Um, so when we give funds, they have to be utilized within 12 months. If for some reason the project is getting delayed, you have to contact HAC on time to ask for an extension. If it is getting delayed due to some kind of politics with the section, like I mentioned, that has to be done ASAP. Internal IEEE conflicts, do not let them boil till almost, the project term is getting over. If you do not ask for extension within 12 months, the project funds will be taken away. If you're done a part project, we will try and protect the IEEE brand as much as we can if you bought anything in the name of IEEE, but then you will not be allowed to complete the project. This has happened. Members have not informed us, and we are becoming more diligent with that. We have a whole committee that will be looking at, have you reported on time? Have you asked for extension on time? And if you do not, they will take a call and they will take the funding back if they think that's the best. Of course, a progress report has to be submitted within 6 months, and within 60 days of the conclusion of the project, you have to submit the metrics that we are asking for. Um, and there'll be updates, requests for updates from the ad hoc committee that's been set up this year. And you can uh, contact them. I mean, don't overwhelm them, but contact them in case of any progress that you want to report. More reporting is encouraged, not less. Um, but do it within means that you don't overwhelm yourself for them. Projects which are longer term will be considered up to 3 years. We are trying not to fund projects for more than 3 years. If you need money for more than 3 years, we understand projects may be longer. We encourage you to show the success that you've gotten with the IEEE funding and go for other kinds of external funding. Next slide, please. Um, Again, final thoughts is we are highly competitive. You are competing with people who have both double E background and social science background and know their community, have worked with their community. Unfortunately, especially when I see young members, I feel bad because they feel like they want to change the world. They have the energy to change the world, but sometimes not the experience. And I can name sections like Uganda section and Bolivia section that just knock it out of the park when it comes to proposals. You're competing with some people who absolutely have a lot of experience. This is not to discourage you. Please get up to that experience. It's not hard. Um, some of us didn't learn this overnight. Some of us are learning it over the years with IEEE. So take advantage of all the IEEE resources, educate yourself, go get mentorship from these people that I'm mentioning, and take your proposal so that, let's say a few years down the line, 3 or 4 years down the line, you are at the level. And this will just make you at a next level of, your professional side in the humanitarian world. So don't take this as a discouragement that you're competing with such high profile people. Take this as an encouragement that you're being given a chance to learn at such low cost just by being a member of IEEE. So we are very competitive. We are not going to hide that fact. But at the same time, um, please raise your bar and come and meet us, because we want to encourage good volunteer projects in many, many countries around the world, not just a few countries where there are, these superstar volunteers. Next slide, Holly. Um, I think the rules, no, if you're working with children, you have to follow rules that guidelines. They are more based on, US centric, Western centric guidelines, but be very clear that we are going to require those guidelines. You have to be in good standing, and we are, hoping that you will work with your local section who will act as a fiscal agent. They may even help us with some oversight. But at the same time, like I've said, the project lead will be the person finally calling the shots. And again, US economic sanctions, export laws, all those will apply. Next slide, Holly, or is that the last slide?
Oh, wait, and just the note about the student members in the
Oh,
first bullet.
right. Uh, we've had in the past some issues where we've given projects funding that are completely student member based, and of course had to deal with, they weren't able to complete the projects. So if there are student members, we require a higher grade IEEE member to be the project lead so that there's continuity. If the students, graduate from the university, they go take a job, then we don't want the project to suffer. Thank you, Holly. So Q&A. Holly, did you want to say something before Q&A on the whole roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, no, just if anyone has any questions about it, please make sure to contact us. You can contact us at hac-office at IEEE.org, or also hac-projects at IEEE.org. We have been implementing more controls. That's because we want to ensure that we are good stewards of IEEE's funding. And so like Mira mentioned, we do have the guidelines that folks need to comply with in terms of working with children, and also the conflict of interest disclosure. And I will note as well that the current IEEE, the generic IEEE conflict of interest disclosure does not actually cover all of the situations that arise with HAC, both HAC projects and events actually. So if your project is being considered for potential funding, you will be asked to fill out a disclosure, and it will have some additional language in it that basically you need to state whether there's any sort of financial interest. But that will be provided to you if we get that far. Actually, Nira, maybe you want to say a minute or two just about the whole review process and how we do have stages.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So when it comes to the review process, we have a pre-review process. This year it's being led by Mike Leitner, who's the former IEEE president and HAC chair, former HAC chair as well. And what they will be doing is they'll be doing a proper quality check on all the projects, not deep reviews, but quality check whether you've, mm, gone through all the sections, whether you're doing a decent quality, whether this project proposal is of good quality to even go through a deep review. Um, Projects that do not meet the mark of the pre-review committee will get an email from Holly saying that you have not advanced to the next, you know, um, stage. And then projects that are in the next stage are still in the running, but there's no guarantee you will get the funding, but at least you're in the running. Then it goes to the deep review committee, as I'm calling it, or the main review committee. And they will be then doing a proper review on all the projects that have been filtered and brought. And of course, this committee, this year it's being led by me. It's one of the subcommittees under the projects committee. So I'm also leading the deep reviews where we will be looking at every aspect, and of course, splitting. Sometimes we have to split hairs to just see which project is doing better or which proposal will be better funded. But then after this deep review, also there's another stage where we will be doing an NGO vetting. Like I said, we will be asking for papers on, the NGO board, the financials, um, what other work have they indulged in, all their, legal aspects, everything we'll be looking at. So the project proposal can get canceled at any of these stages, but you will be getting notifications. Still, you get a notification that comes from Holly. Know that the reviewers who are volunteers like me are doing their level best to get it back as soon as possible. We do have very strict deadlines that are given by Holly and Betsy, and we try and meet those deadlines as reviewers ourselves. So just be patient with us, and we'll get back the results as soon as we make a decision. It's very hard sometimes to make decisions given that we have limited budgets in every round, and there are just so many good proposals we want to, look at. Holly, anything else?
I think that's it for now. I think looks like we've got some questions that are already coming in the chat.
Okay. Um, I was only seeing things about events and workshops. I mentioned workshop. Um, let us know if there's, if there's some kind of educational material we'll provide you. But if it's a workshop you want to conduct on some topic that's, I saw somebody say HVAC. If it's HAC and not HVAC, then I don't know what kind of workshop you would like from HAC. If it's a workshop you want to put together, please go to HAC Events Committee. If you are referring to an educational aspect, I'll have to talk to the educational committee chair, Dr. Sheikh, and then find out if they can do it. So, so all kinds of workshops, these are workshops you want to do on some kind of a humanitarian topic. Please contact events committee for the money. If it's an educational workshop you're requesting on the impact measurement, then let me know or Holly know, and we can contact Dr. Sheikh, who's the educational committee chair.
Right. So we've got a question from Thiago here. We have some countries with more than one IEEE section. For example, India, Pakistan, Brazil, Mexico, USA, Canada. Can we hold an IEEE project in the same country with more than one IEEE section members?
And the answer is we haven't yet restricted anybody to be cross-section. Holly, correct me if that's anything that MGA or you are discussing, but right now
No.
we are not restricting. And there's a reason for it. Your heart could be bleeding more for a problem and nobody else in your section cares, but there's a neighboring section. So Thiago, that's a very, very good question. I'll give you an example. In the US, for example, I'm encouraging in Region 6 all the Arizona members sections, there are 3 sections there, to become their own side group and then do a project in Arizona. And that's because all of them live close by. Now, Brazil is a big country. India is a big country too. Even the US is. So let's say there's a project in northeast of Brazil and you want to do it in the south. Travel can be hard. So just know that you may not be able to travel if you're a remote member, or your member may not be able to travel, and HEC will not be providing that kind of travel money. So yes, you can do a project, but then just be aware of the logistics of travel, etc., etc.
And it looks like this is a follow-on question too from Thiago. Can we receive funds in one IEEE section and hold HAC project with other members in the same country under another IEEE section area/state?
That's an excellent question again, but that's a little complicated. Um, from practical purposes, a section may, I don't know what running under another section goes. Like I said, the project lead is independent. He or she gets to make the final decisions. There's no running by the section of HAC projects. So the section will not be involved. The section that is acting as the, taking the money and giving you the money, they'll have to just make sure that they've signed the roles and responsibilities thing. After that, the project team has to report to HAC. Of course, you're not fully off the hook or something, but there's no need to really go back and be run by any section. Sections won't be running the projects. The project lead will be.
I would say here that in case there are any questions about just with funding, you could, as an applicant, you could ask your section treasurer, if there's anything you're not sure about, and see what they say, and then you can always let us know what their answer is, and we can see if there's something that can be worked out. But yeah, there are a lot of situations that we encounter new situations every year, things that we did not anticipate. So I think the best course of action always is to be, especially be in good communication with your section treasurer, to see if there's anything that they, that they're going to flag and that they might think is an issue, and then we can address it together. Okay, so we have another question here. The applicant should be a registered site group or any group of IEEE members?
We haven't insisted on site membership till now in HAC, but I highly, highly encourage you to become a site group. That just puts a framework within it. Anything you would like to add there, Holly?
Yeah, no, it can be, we're not requiring site membership.
But we are requiring.
It's helpful.
Sorry, please go ahead.
I was just going to say it is very helpful.
Yeah.
And the thing too is with site, then if you're with site groups, site members, then start to develop a track record that that is known to HAC in that way. So that's another thing, another advantage.
Yeah. So we do, like I said, expect significant local section and not section, sorry, local member involvement though. So it cannot be completely non-IEEE members. We've had that in the past, and we are moving away from that because that's not to IEEE's benefit if you're giving money to NGOs and not to our members.
Let's see, we've got a question from Jai Krishnan here. With regard to the outcome of the project, there could be final solutions at the end of 12 months, which can be scaled to multiple similar communities. That means they need to be transferred to social entrepreneurs for the best impact. What is HAC's strategy and process for this?
Great question again. We are coming up with a strategy this year. It has never been done in the past. I've been with this committee only since last year. And last year we went to the next level, which was impact measurement. So that got implemented with, of course, all our volunteer times. This year, I believe Karthik, the chair, wants to look at how can we enable social enterprises. Now, be clear that we haven't done anything in the past because there have been all these questions, right? Questions asked about, you know, how do you scale up to social entrepreneurs? Who's going to, let's say there's money involved. Who's going to take the money? Where is it going to be kept? Is the section account going to be, liable because all this money is coming in? So a whole host of questions open up once you want to scale a project into social enterprises. If it can be done with the help of the NGO, sure. Yeah, that's absolutely something that we highly, highly encourage, that they are going to take it and scale it to different communities with social entrepreneurs. But we will be coming up with a mechanism where IEEE members can do it and not have to bank on the NGO. That's helpful.
Okay, next question here. Do we need a previous project success case only with IEEE activities? Can we have a previous project success case with an NGO together with IEEE members as volunteers on NGO activities?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As long as we know that the volunteers have done this work, have shown success, know what they're talking about, then absolutely. But if you come to HAC Projects Committee with a project proposal for $40,000 and above, previously there was people were getting money. Now we are saying, if you don't show previous success, we are not sure of future success, obviously. So we don't want to gamble away the kind of $40,000. Please go to site, get a smaller scoped project approved, show success, and then come to us and we'll be happy to encourage. So if it's NGO based, sure, as long as you can prove success, it doesn't have to be an IEEE activity.
And two questions here. How many people can be in a group, and can faculty be part of a project?
Faculty can absolutely be part of the project, especially student projects. Faculty being the project lead really, really is important and helps, so that when students leave and go, the faculty is aware. That doesn't mean we are restricting it to faculty. Any professional member of the section can be the project lead for student projects. How many people can be in the group? Actually, as many as you want, as long as they're actually doing something. With any volunteer work, you'll see that only one or two volunteers will do work. And then if there are many volunteers and they all need travel money to do the project, then just keep in mind that if the budget of travel is more than 25% of the overall budget, then HEC will not encourage that either. So those are the kind of things. In fact, those kind of things will get filtered out in the pre-review stage itself. So yes, as many people as you want, but just keep all the logistics and expenses in mind. At the same time, please involve as many members as you can. And if the section can cover their costs because section is seeing engagement, all that is doable. So please, highly encouraged to involve our members.
Next question here is, in some of the projects, there will be interactions with governmental agencies. This may call for payments, which in many regions is highlighted as bribery. What are the guidelines on these to the project teams?
Any payments to the governmental agency that doesn't have a receipt and is not justified legally, By the laws of the land, absolutely not. No bribery, no giving money to people just to get the project through. Um, that is not something IEEE can encourage and HAC will encourage. If there is some legal fees that needs to be paid, if there is something that needs to be registered, we will, if let's say there are some land rights for which you need a legal document to be registered and land rights to be registered, we'll absolutely consider those fees, but not bribery.
And I just want to add too, anytime that there's a legal document or there should be a legal document, we want to see that because that really needs to be reviewed by the IEEE legal department. And we can help you with that. So we can help the funded project teams. If you have something you're working on, we can get that to the legal team so that they can review it. But really make sure nothing is signed before IEEE Legal has had a chance to take a look at it. Because remember, it's not just about your project, it's also about the name and reputation of IEEE. And IEEE, the liability, risk, all of that goes along with it. And that needs to be considered.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had a section chair go and sign something with entity, and when legal reviewed it, I'm not even sure if the section is a legal entity to be signing. So in some countries, the sections don't have legal entity status. So just make sure everything, we get the documentation, we do our reviews, we do our vetting. So if not, we'll be asking for it, of course.
Next question, could we install a project by a site group in another country with no IEEE section?
If the country has absolutely no IEEE section, it has members, highly encouraged to engage with those members. Let's say a country has only 2 members and both those members can be engaged and they help, then highly encouraged. If the members don't want to be engaged, just justifying that would help. Now, that being said, let's say the site group is in Canada and they want to travel all the way to Argentina to do this project. HAC may not consider that because there'll be significant travel costs involved. But let's say there's a country near Argentina, and Argentina is a bad example, but let's say it's a neighboring country in some part of the world, and members want to do project. It doesn't have to be a side group. Yes, as long as you can justify and show that you have tried engaging with the local members and the local members explicitly didn't want to be engaged, then we can consider that. But if there are local members and no section, still we will not encourage it if you haven't shown that you've tried to engage with the local members.
Okay, next question. On risk management, risks constantly evolve during the duration of the project. The risks highlighted in the proposal will keep changing for the probability, if not the impact. Is there any regular project status reporting process updating the current risk status and add new risks identified and mitigation plans?
And that's an excellent question as well. We had a country where money was given and then violence started in that country, and then that kind of risk showed up. So yeah, risks will keep getting, we will keep changing. Political situations can change, financial situations can change. In some countries, giving money to NGOs is highly regulated by the governments. So yes, please bring it. There is a ad hoc committee that is being led by Pia Torres, and that'll be doing the status reporting. And Holly, do we have any kind of formal risk assessment as part of that process yet, or we still?
Yes. So, there is. So IEEE has an Office of Risk and Insurance Management Services called ORIMS for short. And so my staff team and I work very closely with that department. So what will happen is that they will be looking at the proposals that are being considered, so that they will be involved and they will at least be able to provide guidance as HAC Projects is making decisions. But not only that, then after project funding has been awarded, like Neeraj said, so we do have a new ad hoc committee led by Pia. It's called the Project Support and Oversight Ad hoc Committee, and they will be in touch and they will be the point people for the funded project. So if new things arise, the project team needs to let that committee know. And what we will do in terms on the staff side is then we will communicate with the OREM's office if there is something that involves risk. So that way they can be informed, they can provide professional guidance for us, which we can then relay to the project team. So that's how it works. We're this is a new process for us, so we're learning a lot as we go. But the more we know too, the more we'll be able to kind of provide guidance in advance too, to perhaps troubleshoot some areas where we've already seen there are some pitfalls, and we can help provide, and the committee can help guide the project teams on that to hopefully avoid situations that may come up as well. Let's see, I don't see any further questions at this point, unless I missed something in the chat. There was a lot that got written in the chat. So I think we just have a few more minutes. If anybody has any final questions, you can speak now, or you can write now, or forever hold your peace. Or otherwise, well, actually, if you come up with questions afterwards, that's no problem. All you need to do is just send us an email, and we'll be happy to reply to them. We are recording the session. We will be sharing the recording within the next day. I know there have been requests for the presentation. We can also post that, but I wanted to let you know that right now, all the information that we shared is on the HAC website, because, and let me actually just show this to you on the website where you can find all of this. So this is the website. If you look at funding opportunities and go down to HAC Projects, you can see here's the information, the deadlines, here's the call for proposals. If you click on that, I'm just waiting here, here we go. You'll find all of the information. Basically, everything that was in this PowerPoint was taken directly from this call for proposals. So you can see that all there. Let's see, and it looks like we got one more question here, I think. Let me see, can we hold a small project scale with site funds in one location and later hold HAC project with large scale with HAC funds in another location?
Sure. I mean, let's say that the locations are within the same country, the problems are similar. You've proven the technology. Yeah, let's say you've gone and put an internet at a small university, and now you want to scale it to 10 other universities in another part of the country. Sure, that'll be considered. Again, if it's unproven if it's some technology that you worked on, but now you're proposing a whole new technology, of course, that will not fall under that bracket.
And then one other question here, can someone apply with a student membership or as a student branch to the project's funding? Of course, with the collaboration of the section.
In the past, we have allowed that, but in future, the project lead has to be a professional member. We've had issues where the students have not had time to start the project. It's, at the end of the day, the review committee is also volunteers, IEEE volunteers. They are doing this on their own time. So it's a lot of time waste only to know that the students have not even been able to start the project. So we require a professional member to be applying. In this case, I'll say that try coming through the section OU and the student branch itself. If they apply, we look at it, but it is not being encouraged too much right now. I don't think the committee has taken a decision against it, but at the same time, it won't be encouraged very much. Anything
Okay,
else?
I think that's all I see for now, and we just have 1 minute left. So
Yeah.
the final word. Good to see you.
Yeah, I just want to conclude that the reviewers are also IEEE members. Some of them have done a lot of humanitarian work over the years, and that's why they've been selected. So they have very beautiful hearts, a lot of knowledge, and uh, and a lot of discipline and appreciation for the IEEE brand. They've been members for many years. So what reviewers are doing is protecting the brand as well as trying to encourage really, really good projects. So our objective of doing very deep reviews is not to discourage people or discourage projects, but to take your project quality to the next level, and also to enable you to have a successful project, and at the same time protecting the IEEE brand. So just keep this in mind, that these reviewers are also IEEE members just like you, and all they're trying to do is work on the charge given by the board, which is protecting the IEEE brand, but at the same time enabling members to do these kind of projects. So it's just raise the quality and follow the rules and give us projects we cannot refuse. We would love that.
Thank you so much, Niru. You've done a fantastic job of leading HAC projects, and we're really grateful that you were able to share your insight with the group today. So thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you for being an excellent staff member.
Okay, we'll close this off now, and we'll be in touch with you all. Feel free to reach out to us, and good luck with your proposals.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Good luck.